Hey guys, this is Niz with NizCast episode 10. Going to be talking a little bit more about warding again. Um, and this is actually going to focus a little bit more on map control and how we can use our wards to help us control the map. I promise my next video won't be on warding, so if you're getting bored of warding, next episode will be for you. But it will incorporate some of what we talked about with warding. So I think it's very important to get this whole concept out of the way. First of all, what I want you to do is, when you look at the mini-map, this is something that a lot of new players learn. People talk about the river, and they say, you know, why are you going across the river alone at this point in the game? And that's why you died. Well, what the river actually symbolizes, I guess, is the division of the map in half. So basically, what that means is that is also the map control of each team at the exact start of the game. Obviously this changes a little bit with the creeps as they move in between the towers. It fluctuates a little bit whether, you know, actually I'll look at bottom here. You know, if we're Legion and the creeps are here, that's a lot safer than, you know, if the creeps are up here. Sure, we've got vision of everything going on, but, you know, we don't completely have map control. So really what we're looking at is, rather than the river, we're looking at the towers as the main landmarks, I guess, as our map control. So when we look on the mini-map, so we've basically got this ring of these 3 towers, and Hellborn's got the ring of their 3 towers with map control. And as you lose a tower, that changes. Say you're Legion and you've lost your bottom first tower. So that's kind of changed. You've kind of have to manipulate it a little bit, because these are safety points. You know, you can definitely get killed at a tower. Don't get me wrong. You know, enemies will dive past towers once, you know, they feel comfortable, and, you know, at different levels of play, they'll do it really, really early. So, you know, they're not safe, but I think we can all agree that, you know, if you're standing here and the creeps are here and you're killing the creeps, it's a hell of a lot safer when you do have a tower there than when you don't. So, because, you know, you can hide and your allies can port in, and you know what's going on. Anyways, so when we look back at the minimap, actually, when we look back at the minimap here, that's, as we've lost our first tower bottom, this kind of map control has kind of receded a little bit for the Legion team. But at the same time, it actually hasn't expanded for the Hellborn team, right? You could say, oh, well, you just, you know, divide this distance in half between the two bottom towers that are alive. So, you know, it would go something like this. Yes and no. That kind of does work. But what you really need to do is you need to use wards to reinforce these advantages and maintain map control. So let's go on with the same thing, assuming that first tower for Legion has died. If Hellborn goes and wards here, and they're very active of controlling the Legion jungle, now what they've done is they have, you know, I keep clicking up there, they have created that line, right? They have, you know, Legion has definitely lost map control down to this point, you know, between those 3 outer towers that they have. You know, they've got the first tier in top and middle, and then the second tier in bottom. So, you know, their map control is receded, but now Hellborn has expanded their map control outside from that bottom tower. So they're basically taking over more and more of the map. So it's very important to understand how we can use wards to create more and more map control, shutting down enemy farm. Because if we're controlling the enemy jungle, not only can we farm it and create more farming potential for our team, but we're also shutting down their farming potential. If they're not safe, they don't feel safe going into their jungle, they're sure as hell not safe to go anywhere near away from their tower in bottom lane. So we've basically shut down a lot of farming potential. If someone comes bottom, they're probably only going to be there for maybe a wave, maybe 2. So we're really shutting down how much they can farm, rather than if they, you know, could farm and push all the way out there because they're protected by their own wards, or even further, then, you know, they're going to be able to farm a lot better. The other thing this does is, if we're controlling this area, and we've got, you know, I'm drawing on the map again, we've got that map awareness down like this, or map control down like this, so we're controlling all these portions of the map, we're actually able to control here a lot more. And just because we're controlling this area, it's actually very unsafe to be mid. So once again, that division mid isn't the river anymore. It isn't out here anymore. It's back at your tower, because if you come out here as Legion when the enemy has control of your jungle, you're just asking to get ganked. They're going to come in from behind you. You're going to have nowhere to go. You're going to go up, and if you run into someone else or you get caught, from them coming there or just coming down river, you're screwed. You're dead. So, that one ward has created a huge advantage since we took this tower. Now, there's tons of different locations all over the map and where you can use wards like this. This is the easiest example and the best example to show, where you can create this advantage and further push your advantage, create more and more map control. Because that's essentially what you want to do. If you've ever watched Day 9, if you've ever watched, GSL, Listen to Artosis, and Tasteless, they always talk about when you're ahead, get further and further ahead. And Day 9 mentions it too, if you follow StarCraft 2 at all. And that's just essentially what we're trying to do. We've taken this tower. We've gotten an advantage, because we've taken a tower, we've got more gold for our team. That's good, that's awesome. How can we further that advantage? Well, we can use that knowing how map control works between the outside towers and, even the second ring of towers. We can control that, and we can, further our map control so that we've got more to farm and we're making them have less to farm. So hopefully that, this makes sense, and you're able to follow me as I talk about this. The same thing happens, when you lose a secondary tower. You can use the same thing, tracking enemy movement, trying to figure out where the heck they're going. Maybe you're warding the pillar, maybe you're warding here, maybe you've even taken their base tower, and you start warding up here. Now that kind of seems like a waste at times, but maybe not. When you try to push these racks, say you haven't got the racks yet, and you're trying to push, that gives you vision up there. You can see what's going on, or if you're trying to push into the base, maybe you're warding, up there to see vision for Behemoth to initiate or something like that, or Tempest to initiate, those kind of ideas. But just being able to see, if you've taken this, or even if you've just taken the secondary tower, you can even ward out here. And that seems like kind of a waste at times if you're Hellborn and you're warding out there. But it's the same thing as the wards I talked about last episode, where you're tracking enemy movement, trying to figure out where they're going. And just by having that ward and knowing that, you can cut down. Every time they go into the jungle here and you come confront them, and they're counter warding here, trying to figure out how the hell well, that's just further shutting down their confidence and their ability to go out and farm their jungle. So you're taking more and more map control away. So sometimes these wards kind of seem silly or don't really help to someone who doesn't really understand them, but I hope my explanation has helped you understand why some of these wards do make sense. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes you'll be in a game and someone will ward a place that doesn't make any sense at all. But sometimes, it does have this little benefit that maybe you just don't understand yet. And I hope I explained that. The other thing that is really, really important is maintaining a proper balance between your wards. So you have to keep map control in mind when you're warding. If you're trying to turtle and you're trying to just basically you're Hellborn again, you're trying to turtle and farm up your carry. Say you've lost that outer tower or something, or maybe it's even there. If you're trying to turtle and keep him alive, well then your priority is to control this upper. Once again on the map, control this upper area of the map, because that's where your carry is going to be farming. He's going to want to farm that top lane. He's going to want to be able to jump in the jungle, kill the neutral camps, so you guys can stack them for him and everything, so he can get the maximum amount of farm. You want to be able to protect that area, right? So it's proper to have a good balance. If you're warding, say you've got 2 or 3 wards on the map. Say you're warding here and you're like, cool, we can see the ports in, we can see when they go into our jungle to gank them, that's awesome, we can counter gank, they're not going to kill them, that's cool. And let's say, we've lost our mid tower and they keep trying to come up through the jungle here. Well, let's ward here. as Andromeda slowly gets there. Let's ward here so we can see when they go into our jungle, and he can be safe and avoid them. But then, if you don't, like, you've got a huge hole in your wards here, in your vision. If you then go and say, oh, yep, we need to ward bottom because we need a rune ward, and you ward here or something, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, yeah, you've created this ring kind of map control, but you've kind of got a big hole here, so it's not really. It's more like this, because you don't have this tower, and then this ward doesn't really do much. So you have to have a good balance between your wards and consistency. But if you're keeping that top really safe, and you're warding top rune here, as I get there. If you're warding top rune here, and you've got that nice consistency, as I get Andromeda's vision out of the way, you have that nice consistency where you're basically keeping, so drawing the line on the mini-map, you're keeping that vision, so that whole area is very, very safe for your carry. If you're doing that, that's great, but then you're losing out because you don't really have vision bottom, because this ward isn't here, right? You don't have vision bottom, you don't have vision of Kong, you don't have vision of kind of anything going on bottom. So if you haven't pushed this tower, chances of you pushing that tower safely is pretty remote. So there has to be a good balance and consistency with your wards, and what the goal is, what you're trying to do with your wards. Don't get me wrong, you could have one ward on one place of the map and one ward on the other place of the map. You could do that, and sometimes situations arise like that, but try to have your wards work together, and try to think in terms of strategy and in terms of map control, and how you're going to use your wards to keep an area safe, or to take over an area and make it unsafe for the enemy, like we did in the bottom, taking over their jungle. That was only just one ward. We've pushed this tower and we placed one ward, and we've all of a sudden taken so much map control away from them in that area of the map. Hopefully that really, really helped you understand wards and how their position can be very important, outside of just warding the runes or warding to push or defend a tower. Hopefully this really, really helped. Once again, this is NizCast. This is episode 10. Next episode will not be on warding, so definitely stay tuned for that one. And if it was on warding, I hope you would have stayed tuned anyways. Anyways, thanks again for watching. This is Niz.